Celestial Mischief. Adrian Chen sighed as he calibrated the quantum stabilizer on Orion 7. Space Station. His hands moved with practiced precision, working as the station's head engineer. Had its perks, but the isolation weighed heavily on him. He barely looked up when the laboratory door hissed open. "Excuse me, are you Dr. Chen?" The melodic voice carried an accent he couldn't place. Adrian turned and nearly dropped his tools before him. Stood a woman with striking purple skin that seemed to shimmer under the laboratory lights. Her eyes held galaxy-like depths, and her silver-threaded hair cascaded past her shoulders. "Yes, that's me," he managed to say. "And you are Isabel, ambassador of Nebula Neen." She smiled with a hint of mischief. "I've heard you're quite resourceful with unusual technology." Adrian nodded cautiously. Nebulan representatives rarely visited this sector, especially ones as striking as Isabel. "I have something that might interest you," she said, reaching into a shimmering pouch at her waist. She produced a small creature that resembled a cross between a fox and a jellyfish. It glowed softly with bioluminescent patterns and blinked 3 emerald eyes at Adrian. "This is Nova," Isabel said, extending her hands toward him, a rare companion from the outer rings. It chirped softly. "Why would you give this to me?" Adrian asked, accepting the creature. Despite his suspicion, Isabel's smile widened. "Consider it a diplomatic gesture. Besides, it's quite demanding, and I thought someone with your patience might appreciate the challenge." Adrian cradled Nova, who immediately nuzzled against his chest. "What does it eat?" "Oh, whatever technological scraps you have around," she said with a dismissive wave. "It's quite adaptable." After Isabel departed, Adrian placed Nova on his workbench. The creature immediately began examining his tools with curious chirps. "So you're my new roommate," Adrian mused, offering a small circuit board to Nova, who happily began to gnaw on it. What Adrian didn't see was Isabel watching through the station's security feed, giggling to herself. "He'll be begging to return it by tomorrow," she whispered to Commander Rena, her security officer. "These humans are so predictable. Is it wise to give him a nebula sprite?" "Your Highness?" Rena asked with concern. "It's harmless," Isabel replied. Though she knew that wasn't entirely true. Nova was far more than a simple pet, but the human didn't need to know that it would be entertaining to watch him struggle with the notoriously mischievous creature. Little did she know that her simple prank would set in motion events that would change both their worlds forever. As Adrian gently stroked Nova's glowing tendrils, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through his chest. "Well, little one," Adrian whispered, "welcome home." Luminous bond. 3 days had passed since Isabel's gift, and Adrian found himself inexplicably attached to Nova. The creature followed him everywhere, floating just above his shoulder during work hours and curling up on his chest at night. "You're not the troublemaker she said you'd be," Adrian murmured as he shared his breakfast with Nova, who chirped happily while consuming a spoonful of synthesized honey at his workstation. Adrian noticed something strange. When he felt frustrated with a particularly complex repair, Nova would glow brighter, and somehow the solution would appear clearer in his mind. "Are you helping me?" he asked, astonished, when Nova seemed to nod in response. That evening, Nova hovered near Adrian's personal terminal and projected a holographic star map onto the wall. "What are you showing me?" Adrian whispered in awe. The map zoomed in on a distant system, highlighting what appeared to be ancient travel routes. Meanwhile, Isabel paced her diplomatic quarters, confused by the reports from her security team. "He hasn't complained once," Rena said, showing her footage of Adrian laughing as Nova danced through the air around him. "In fact, they seem quite bonded." "Impossible," Isabel muttered. "Nebula sprites only bond with those of royal Nebulon lineage. That's why I thought it would be such an amusing prank. It should be driving him mad with its demands." Curiosity getting the better of her, Isabel decided to visit Adrian again. She found him in the station's arboretum, where Nova was absorbing light from the artificial sun. "I see you're getting along with my gift," she said, trying to sound casual. Adrian turned with a genuine smile that caught Isabel off guard. "Nova is amazing, thank you. I've never had such a fascinating companion." Isabel moved closer, watching as Nova glowed brighter at Adrian's happiness. "May I?" she asked, extending her hand toward the creature when her fingers brushed against Nova's tendrils. A spark of energy connected them momentarily. Isabel gasped, seeing fragments of Adrian's thoughts. His kindness, his loneliness, his growing fascination with her pulling back quickly. She felt her cheeks warming. I'm surprised it hasn't shown its more temperamental side. Nova has been perfect, Adrian said, then frowned at Isabel's obvious. Discomfort is something wrong, no? She replied too quickly. I just remembered an important meeting. As she hurried away, Isabel felt confusion flooding her. The sprite was responding to him as it would to Nebulan royalty, which was impossible. Unless your highness, Rena interrupted her thoughts. The council is requesting an update on your diplomatic mission. Should I mention the sprite? No, Isabel said firmly. Tell them negotiations are proceeding as planned and find me everything. In our records about interspecies bonding with celestial guardians, Rena's eyes widened, but you said it was just a sprite. Isabel watched through a view screen as Adrian gently caressed Nova, whose glow now enveloped them both. In a protective aura, I may have been mistaken, she whispered. Astral truth a week later, Adrian couldn't ignore Nova's increasingly obvious abilities. The creature could now transmit images directly into his mind, showing him glimpses of distant worlds and ancient civilizations when his lab door slid open. Revealing Isabel he wasn't entirely surprised. She looked troubled, her usual confidence replaced with nervous energy. We need to talk about Nova, she said without preamble. I was hoping you'd explain what's happening, Adrian replied, gesturing to where Nova floated, now the size of a small dog and glowing with intricate patterns that shifted like constellations. Isabel took a deep breath. Nova isn't a sprite or pet, it's a celestial guardian. It's one of the rarest beings in the known universe. They're protectors of the Nebulan royal bloodline. Sentient cosmic energy that chooses worthy companions. Adrian stared at Nova, who pulsed with blue light. Why would you give me something so important as a prank? Isabel's purple skin darkened with embarrassment. Because I thought it would reject you immediately. They never bond with non-Nebulonians, especially humans. I thought it would make impossible demands until you begged me to take it back. I never expected this. She gestured toward Nova, who had created a small galaxy of light between them. The council is furious, she continued. They're demanding Nova's return, claiming, I've committed treason by allowing a guardian to bond with an outsider. Adrian felt a protective surge. Nova chose me. I won't let them take. I know, Isabel interrupted. Surprising him, that's why I've been avoiding the council's calls, studying ancient texts. Instead, she moved closer, her eyes meeting his. The fact that Nova chose you means something significant. Something that challenges everything we believed about human potential. Their conversation was interrupted by Nova suddenly flaring bright crimson, a warning pulse that sent Isabel reaching for Adrian's arm. What's wrong? He asked, feeling her tension. That's a danger signal, she whispered. Nova senses a threat. As if summoned by her words, Commander Rena burst through the door. Ambassador, we have a situation. Unauthorized ships have entered station space. They're not responding to hails. The council sent enforcers, Isabel realized aloud. No, Your Highness. Rena's face was grim. These aren't Nebulan ships. They bear the markings of the Shadow Collective. Isabel paled. How could they know what Adrian demanded? Instinctively moving closer to Nova, that a guardian has awakened. She said, her voice tight with fear. They harvest cosmic entities for their energy. They've hunted guardians too near extinction. Adrian felt Nova press against him, mentally sharing images of devastation and loss. We need to get you both somewhere safe, Isabel said. Taking his hand without hesitation, the contact sent a current of warmth up Adrian's arm. That had nothing to do with danger. As alarms began to sound throughout the station, Adrian made a decision. He intertwined his fingers with Isabel's. I think it's time you explained everything about what Nova really is and why you're really here on this station. Isabel's eyes widened, but she nodded. You deserve the truth, she said softly. All of it. Cosmic peril. The station shuddered as the first barrage hit Adrian. Isabel and Nova had retreated to the engineering sublevel, a maze of corridors and maintenance shafts. Few could navigate. The Shadow Collective specializes in extracting energy from cosmic beings, Isabel explained as they moved through the dimly lit passages. They've sensed Nova's awakening and tracked it here. And you? Adrian asked, still processing everything. You said you'd tell me the truth. Isabel's expression softened. I'm not just an ambassador. I'm the crown princess of Nebula 9. She touched Nova gently. Our royal line has been connected to the Guardians for millennia. I was sent here on a diplomatic mission. but also to search for any cosmic entities that might have been drawn to this sector. Adrian paused. So giving me Nova was a terrible mistake, she admitted. Or perhaps fate. I don't know anymore. Nova suddenly flared brightly, projecting a warning. Moments later, the wall beside them exploded inward. 3 figures in obsidian armor stepped through, their faceplates glowing with eerie red light. Harvesters, Isabel whispered in horror. The lead harvester raised a weapon. Surrender the guardian and the princess, and the human may live. Adrian stepped forward protectively. You're not taking either of them? Nova surged forward, expanding, to create a shield of light between them and the intruders, but the harvesters fired specialized energy nets that began to drain Nova's brightness. Adrian felt a painful tug in his chest as Nova weakened. Without thinking, he reached for Isabel's hand. When their fingers intertwined, something extraordinary happened. Energy coursed between them, channeling through their connection into Nova. The guardian pulsed with renewed strength, breaking free of the energy nets and sending a wave of concentrated light that knocked the harvesters back. How did you? Isabel gasped. I don't know, Adrian replied, equally shocked. I just felt what Nova needed. More explosions rocked the station as they fled deeper into the maintenance levels, eventually reaching the auxiliary control room. We can access the station's defense systems from here, Adrian said, working quickly at the terminal. While Isabel and Nova kept watch, there are more harvesters boarding on multiple levels, she reported grimly, studying the security feeds. Adrian finished his work and turned to her. I've rerouted power to the emergency shields and sent a distress signal to the Alliance, but it will take hours for help to arrive. Their eyes met. Both aware they might not have ours? There's something else we could try, Isabel said hesitantly. An ancient Nebulan technique. It requires complete trust, and she faltered. And what? Adrian asked. Physical and emotional connection? She finished, her purple skin darkening with intensity. Nova can amplify our combined energy, potentially creating a defensive field around the entire station, but the process is intimate to share energy that way. Adrian moved closer, his heart racing as he understood her meaning. I trust you, Isabel. Her eyes widened. Searching his face for certainty, Nova circled them, its light pulsing with urgency as another explosion shook the station. We don't have much time, Adrian said softly. Isabel nodded, placing her hands on his chest. Then let me show you how our worlds can truly connect, as their foreheads touched and their breathing synchronized. Nova's light enveloped them both, creating a cocoon of radiance that began to expand outward through the station. Stellar hearts, the light from their connection spread through Orion 7, surrounding the station in a protective aurora that repelled the Shadow Collective's weapons inside the auxiliary control room. Adrian and Isabel remained in their intimate, embraced, their energies flowing through and amplified by Nova. Adrian had never experienced anything like it. He could feel Isabel's emotions, her fears, her regrets about the deception, and something deeper, warmer, growing steadily stronger. Between them, I see you, he whispered against her skin. All of you, and I see you. She responded, her voice trembling. When they finally pulled apart, the immediate danger had passed. Nova hovered between them, its form now a magnificent spiral of cosmic light. Alliance ships have responded to our distress call, Commander Rena reported through the comms. Shadow Collective vessels are retreating. Exhausted, they made their way to the observation deck, watching as Alliance cruisers chased the last of the harvester ships into the distance. What happens now? Adrian asked quietly. Will your council still demand Nova's return? Isabel turned to him, her expression resolute. The ancient texts I studied contained a prophecy about a guardian choosing someone from beyond our star system. It was said to herald a new age of connection between worlds. Convenient timing to remember that, Adrian said with a gentle smile. She laughed softly. Perhaps I'm interpreting it liberally, but what we just did, the way we connected, it hasn't been possible between different species before. The Council cannot ignore the significance. Nova drifted between them, projecting images of stars aligning of different worlds in harmony. So you won't have to leave? Adrian asked, hope rising in his chest. Isabel took his hands in hers. Actually, I was hoping you might consider coming with me as Nebulan's first human ambassador. She hesitated, and perhaps something more personal to me. Adrian's heart raced at the implications. Are royal ambassadors allowed to court human engineers? This one is, she whispered. leaning forward until their lips nearly touched, that as if the engineers interested in answer. Adrian closed the distance between them. Their kiss sent ripples through Nova's light, creating a cascade of falling stars around them. When they finally separated, Adrian smiled. To think this all started with a prank, best diplomatic mistake I've ever made, Isabel murmured against his lips. Nova chirped happily, its form settling into a more compact shape that nestled between them, connecting them with threads of gentle light. The council is calling for a full report, Your Highness, Rena announced from the doorway, respectfully averting her eyes from their embrace. Tell them, Isabel said, not looking away from Adrian's face. Tell them we've discovered something more powerful than any weapon or treaty. Tell them we've found what the ancient text spoke of, a bridge between worlds beginning with two hearts. As the station slowly returned to normal operations, Adrian, Isabel, and Nova stood together at the viewport, watching the stars that no longer seemed so distant or separate, their futures now intertwined in ways none of them could have imagined, when a mischievous princess decided to gift a lonely engineer with what appeared to be a simple pet. Sometimes the greatest connections begin with the smallest pranks, and sometimes destiny wears the disguise of coincidence, waiting for hearts brave enough to discover the truth.